Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and give us about 30 seconds before we start.
I think I better share my screen so people can actually see what I'm displaying.
Alrighty, excellent. Welcome in, everyone. Welcome in. Good morning or afternoon. My name is Mariela Salinas, and I'm a marketing specialist here at Educate 360. Welcome to today's webinar, The Ultimate Guide to Passing the CBAP and the CCBA, presented by the Director of Business Solutions at Watermark Learning, Dr. Susan Heidorn. We are in Zoom for today's session, and we will be sharing a copy of this recording with all of you in an email after the webinar. We do encourage participation throughout the webinar, so use the chat or the Q&A option for a short Q&A after the presentation. Educate 360 is so excited to present this webinar today, so without further ado, I'll hand it over to you, Dr. Heidorn.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. I'm glad to see the number of people here that have come because maybe not everyone is interested in CBAP and CCBA, and we're going to give you some good tips on how to get started, how to pass the exam. I am a CBAP myself, have been for many, many years, and I'm always excited to share my tips and share with you some things that might help you out on your journey. So to just start, why on earth? Because it is effort, really effort. You do have to study, I'm sorry to say. And why would we want to get our CBAP and CCBA certification? Well, one, sometimes it's just professional recognition. Just for all of you, I just got done taking another certification exam this morning. Luckily, I didn't have to study quite as long as the CBAP, but but it too was an application-based questions, and it's just like, oh, I'm so glad I got that over with. But sometimes it's just professional recognition to say, hey, yeah, let everybody know, hey, I know my stuff, sometimes that certainly helps. Certainly career advancement. I know a lot of organizations I work with. One of the things, if you want to go from one level to another level on promotions, pay, whatever it is, a certification will help. I mean, sometimes it's like, well, if you want to go from level 3 to level 4, get your certification. So sometimes it's even embedded into the organizations to get your certification. Certainly enhanced knowledge. I'm always learning. And I hope as a business analyst, I think that's one of our superpowers is we're always, excited to learn and learn from other people and learn what's going on. And so getting enhanced knowledge, that's always good. Maybe there's some things you probably know a lot because you do have to have experience to go for CBAP and CCBA, but maybe there's always things you can learn. That's what I think. Even though I've been one for a very long time, always learning new stuff. Certainly networking opportunities. You certainly could join a study group. A lot of the local chapters have study groups. Some of my classes, actually, the people in the class wanted to start a study group, so they exchange their emails and do a study group. So study groups are really kind of fun too. And then, of course, it increases your network. Competitive advantage, for both for the organization and for you if you're looking for a position. Certainly gives yourself maybe some more confidence that you go, hey, I'm a certified BA. I kind of know my stuff. And at least you're speaking the same lingo. And in the organization as well. I was an external consultant for many, many years, and certifications were one way to demonstrate that, yes, I do know what I'm talking about sometimes. So it gives them a little bit more confidence. And again, moving to a different job always helps. And so I always think certifications are worth it. I have maybe too many. I think in my mind, 10th or 11th one. But CBAP was actually my second. My PMP was my first, but CBAP was my second. So I've had that for a long time. And of course, benefits that can go up also. So eligibility, before you sit for the CBAP or CCBA exam, you have to be eligible. So what does that mean? That means that we have to have some education hours in. We also have to demonstrate experience. On many of the certifications, you don't. You can just come in ground level. This one, like the PMP, is different. And so there's two levels of certifications that need experience. IIBA has other certifications that don't need any. These are the two that do. And so we have CBAP. And CBAP, the target audience is usually if you've got 5 years or more of practical business analysis experience. And you could be kind of playing a dual role, which means if you play a dual role, like sometimes I wear my project manager hat, sometimes my business analyst hat, you can do that too. You just have to make sure you have the hours in during that time period. So current CCBAs, you don't have to have one to get the other. You can just, if you have the hours for CBAP, go for it. I would hate to have to take 2 exams. Like I said, I just took one this morning. And no matter what, even if you don't need to study for 3 months, it's still daunting. It's still a daunting experience. And if you don't have to, take your CCBA and then you want to get your CBAP, just try and go for your CBAP. And I'm not dissuading you from CCBA. If you have the hours to sit for it, certainly go for it. And maybe you don't do business analysis that often, but you want to get your certification, you don't have enough for CBAP, then maybe CCBA would be good, because it's about 2 to 3 years of experience. You may or may not have your ECBA, which is your entry-level certification that you don't need any work hours from, consultants, things like that. So how much work experience do you need? Drum roll, please. 7,500 hours in the past 10 years. Unlike PMP, you do not get a discount on those hours because you have a graduate degree, or actually undergraduate degree. So everybody, doesn't matter what your college education is, you need 7,500 hours, and you need 3,750 in the last 7 years for CCBA. And then we look at the knowledge areas. There are 6 knowledge areas in the business analysis body of knowledge. And you will capture, and we'll talk about this a little bit, you will capture your hours per knowledge area. So if you were doing this, was this in, elicitation, or was it in solution evaluation? What was it in? So you kind of have to designate your hours per those knowledge areas. And you have to have a minimum of 900 in each of the 4 knowledge areas. There's 6, so you need 900 at least 4. And if you're going for CCBA, it's 902 or 504 of them. Professional development hours. Yes, you do need to have some class time, 35 credit hours for CBAP, 21 credit hours for CCBA. Because you're studying the same things, it's only questions that are a little different. We have combined the CBAP and CCBA in one certification prep class. Not everyone does that, so you may want to think about that when you're looking, if you are looking for other certification materials or opportunities. So 35 means that it has to be instructor-led, though. They're really picky about that. So you have to have, even if you listen to audio recording of a class or something, you have to have the ability to interface with an instructor, otherwise it doesn't count. So reading a book wouldn't count unless you're talking to the author. So our CBAP and CCBA certification prep does cover the 35 credit hours you need. So you just need to take the prep class and you're good. If you don't take a prep class, then you will have to find a way to get your 35 hours. You need 2 references. The good thing is that they don't call them unless you get audited. So, and we'll talk about that a little bit down the line. You do need to sign a code of conduct saying that you're going to be a good business analyst. You do need a minimum of high school education or your GED. And you can see here where you have the application fee is $145. So it doesn't matter if you're a member or not a member, the application fee for everyone is the same. However, the exam fee is different. That first number is for members, the second number is for non-members. So if you're a member of IIBA, which I would suggest at least for the first year, get, because you're already saving, you're saving money on that 505, because I think a membership is like 145 or something. So you still save a little bit. So I would get your membership to get that amount down a little bit. Whoops, sorry. Okay, business areas. I said you needed to know, and you had to have 900 hours of experience in this. So here are the 6 knowledge areas. And think of it as buckets of things to do. There's no sequentiality in business analysis. You can do things concurrently. You can do, planning, and then you might have to replan after you learn some stuff. I mean, it's kind of more of an iterative process, but these are buckets of like things. These are buckets of things you need to plan, even if you have to replan. Here are the things you elicit. You had to elicit before the project starts, during the project starts, after the project starts. You're listening to everything, listening and planning. So elicitation and collaboration. So planning, analysis, and monitoring is what it says, planning for the effort. And this is only business analysis effort. You're not planning for the project. Elicitation and collaboration is how we elicit requirements from people or things, and collaborating with stakeholders, which is really key. Requirements lifecycle management means once we get the requirements through elicitation, we gotta kind of manage them. Okay, and so that's the outer ring. Those are kind of like support buckets. And then you have the internal, which is strategy analysis, is defining the business need. What problem are we trying to solve? What opportunity are we trying to take advantage of? Current state, future state, gap analysis, creating a strategy to move forward. That's your pre-project work. Most of the time. Sometimes if it hasn't been done, it's during project, but hopefully it's done. Requirements analysis and design takes all that raw data from elicitation to analyze it, model it, document it in whatever fashion. And then solution evaluation is toward the end, evaluating if the solution or solution component is working. So that's towards the end. So it takes the broad gamut, and it's more than the project. Business analysis works starts before the project starts and continues after the end to make sure you have your benefits realized. So let's talk about this. Is about certification. So you all have to apply and get approved. My suggestion, and here's the download link, is download and review their certification handbooks. So you can go to IIBA, and under certifications, they have a section called certifications. Go into it, they will talk about each certification. They will also have a handbook, and get the latest handbook because sometimes they do change things, so get that. And then you got to fill out your eligibility requirements. So your development hours, your work history. So the development hours are those 35 or 21 credits you need. Work history, so the 7,500 hours, 3,750, 2 references. Now to help you, because it is a lot. And let me tell you, if you're looking back 10 years, sometimes I wonder I don't even know, what did I have for lunch or breakfast the other day? And now I'm looking 10 years down the road. Oh my gosh. So go to watermarklearning.com. Well, actually, you know what? I think I'm going to do this a little differently. Mariella, can I send it to you, and can you send it out with the recording? I'll ask Marielle to do that with the recording. The reason being is we had a resource section in our website just got updated. So now it's not, you can't find it right now. So I am going to, because you're all attending, add that to your attendance. What it is it's an Excel spreadsheet. Very simple. But what it does is you can document all your experiences. It says which body or knowledge area that you're in. So it's like, okay, I got 40 hours in planning. I did 60 hours in elicitation. I did, 90 hours in an analysis and modeling. So, I mean, you can, and then you get it all, and then you can see, do I have, first of all, 900 hours in 4 knowledge areas, and 2, do I have 7,500 hours? That makes it a lot more simple. So when you go put it into the system, even though you go into IIBA, it's all online. The thing is that let's say life happens, I get started at putting in some of my information, and then, Bill comes and, oh, I need you, Susan. So I have to stop, or my boss is looking over my head, or then I gotta do something else. So I might forget where I'm at. And unless you pay the 145 application fee, you can't see what you did. And it's really hard. I'm gonna just be honest with you. IIBA's system that you put all your information in is not easy to use and not easy to go back to see what you've done. And so that's why I said put it in a spreadsheet. I know it seems like duplicate work, but then you can tick it off after you put everything in there. And I'd also say that even though you need some 1,500 hours for CBAP, make more, just in case something gets kicked out. Pay for the application. Log your eligibility details, agree to the code of conduct, submit the application, and then you're going to almost immediately they'll say whether you're approved or not. Really short time frame. And if you're approved, you're good to go. You can sign up for the exam. If not, you will be audited. And if you're audited, they will contact you and let you know what you need to do. And then that's where your 2 references will be checked. Otherwise, they don't even check references. But if you get audited, they will check your reference. And auditing is more like, when you go to the airport and you go through the TSA check and you go, okay, and then, it's just a numbers thing. I mean, unless they see something suspicious. And then you have to go in a special line. But sometimes it's just your numbers up, it's just, I was the lucky 89th person to go in line today, and I'm going to get the special check. Think about auditing as that special check. Every so many people, unless they see something, they'll go, okay, well, we're going to check. We're going to do an audit. I have gotten audited. It's pretty painless. Just make sure you have the documentation to prove it. Question, does this certification compare a PBA? PBA is, I would say, is also a great certification. The PBA is a little less strenuous, and it's focuses on project management and business analysis, how project managers do dual hats. Whereas if you really want to get a little bit more robust certification and you do business analysis most of the time, I would suggest IIBA certifications. Do we have to write applications like we do? Yeah, explaining the details, not so much, but you do have to say the company, the time frame, and you do your best guess, because it's like 9 years ago, I don't even remember who the manager was. And a lot of times people move, so they won't be there anyway. So do the best. You do your best. So it's like I worked from here to here. These are the projects I worked on. Here's the hours where I put them. So you just give a little brief explanation, not too detailed. All right. And then you get copy. If you are a member, you can just download the copy of the BABOK. If you're not a member, you can go to Amazon. Of course, then it costs you. So always membership is good. You can go to our website at watermarklearning.com. And it has, I really can't tell you right off the top of my head, I'm going to be honest. So just check it out. Just go to our website and you can check out the class, the prep class. Otherwise, or you could take other business analysis classes, and they also say how many, what that cost. So first of all, allocate dedicated study time. Some time and place where you are not disturbed. The dogs and cats aren't running through the house, kids aren't running through the house. I mean, you really do have to have some focus time. Some people just do a little bit at lunch, or, when they're at work, so they don't have to worry about the kids, or maybe some weekends, or whatever works for you. When I study, I usually like studying in the morning because my brain works better in the morning. But, just find a time when you're not interrupted. Understand the org structure, which we're going to talk about in a second. Certainly start with the introduction, just it tells you what the body of knowledge is about. Then go to each knowledge area. Practice applying the concepts, because Both the CCBA and CBAP are application-driven exams. What does that mean? It's just not about memorizing and giving a definition. You say, what model is this? It really is about applying it. It's really scenario-based. So like, well, you are a business analyst and here's the situation. What would you do? Or what would you do next? Or should you have done first or whatever? But it's situational. So you have to not just read it for context, which you have to understand, but how to apply it. Then review the techniques. There's lots of 50, count them, 50 techniques you have to know. You have to know how to read them. You have to know when to use them, when you wouldn't want to use them. So their strengths and their weaknesses, the nomenclature used. So that is going to take some time also in competencies. Take breaks. You know, I need a brain break once in a while. It's like, you know what, you get so much in your head. It's just like, time out. I'm going to do something else. Let it solidify in that unconscious part of your brain and then go back to it, because otherwise, I don't know about you, but it'll all be jumbled. And I just need to take some. And then practice. Take practice exam questions. We include that with our certification prep class. You can also purchase it separately if you don't want to take our class, which is just fine. You can still have access to our study questions, and you can do that again. Go to watermarklearning.com. Review previous sections. Stay consistent. You know, every week study. Usually takes about 3 months. 2 to 3 months, I would say, average study time in order to take the exam. The only time I've had a difference on that is, sometimes I have people that they took 2 weeks of vacation, which I can think of better things to do on vacation, but, or they were between jobs and they said, I'm just going to get done, and then 2 weeks was good for them because that's all they did for 2 weeks. Otherwise, it would be extremely difficult. So first you need to kind of understand as you're studying. What helps me is I need big picture. If any of you are big picture people, this kind of helps, is that you got the knowledge areas, and I said there were 6. Each knowledge area has tasks. They generally have 5 tasks. One knowledge area has 4, another has 6, but generally, average out there 5. Each task then has a purpose. Why do we need to do this task? A description, giving you a little bit more detail on what the heck the task is. What inputs are needed to do the task? What elements are in the task? So the elements could be a step, could be considerations, things that you need to know when you do the task. So it gives you a little bit of description on how to do it. Any guidelines and tools and techniques that are needed to do the task that will help me do that task. The stakeholders that are generally involved in that task, and outputs. What do I get at the end of that task? It's kind of like a process, inputs and outputs, but they call it a task. Because sometimes it's more about, here are the things you need to consider when doing this task, and other times it's steps. I need to do this and this and this and this. So they call it task. So preparing for the exam. Take a prep class. Like I said, there's a lot of chapters. Offer prep classes. You can get online classes. You can get recordings of classes. You don't have to take a prep class, but a lot of people find that it's helpful because you're usually with an instructor who's also had to have taken an exam, and they can give you a lot of tips that work for them. Join a study group. Again, a lot of local chapters have study groups. Study aids. If you go to our website again, you can see that we have study guides, we have practice questions, study tables, flashcards, we have all kinds of things. You can make your own flashcards. And sometimes that helps, just making your own, but have some things that will help you. Individual study, then might create a study plan if you're a planner. So practice exams, again, you can access the practice exam and use ours. There's other people who have practice exams. So it gives you feedback. And our practice exams, I don't know about others, but we have it by knowledge area, or if you want to take a simulated practice exam with case studies, you can select that, and then all the knowledge area questions will be mixed up into one exam, like the real exam. But sometimes it's nice that people say, you know what, right now I'm on elicitation and collaboration. I just want questions on elicitation and collaboration. See if I know my stuff before I start intermixing them. And so that kind of helps. So we have drill questions by knowledge area, and then it's like, okay, let's simulate the actual exam where they're all mixed up, and questions can be from anywhere. So generally we say averaging 70% on the exams will pretty much get you there. Sometimes people, 60, it just kind of depends on the study question. Sometimes people have found our study questions harder than the actual ones in the exam. So it just kind of depends on what you want. So we were talking about resources. And you can, again, go to watermarklearning.com. I have to check these links because I'm not sure because we just changed our website and I forgot to double check these, and I apologize. So, but they will be there. I mean, you can go download and look for CBAP. It's usually listed up front anyway. And then what are some of the resources around that? So you will find it anyway. So we got a study guide, we have study tables, flashcards, online study questions. You can purchase them or not. It's your call, just helpful tips. And then doing final prep. Again, generally it's about 100 hours of study time. People usually take about, we usually suggest too, I personally suggest in my classes take it before 3 months, because life happens, and if you get interrupted, I don't know about you, but if I have a month in between, I got to start all over again, and because not totally all over, but almost all, because I forgot what I was doing. So try and take it within 2 to 3 months generally. Now sometimes life has happened, something happened in your family, or who knows what, or you just got laid off, you got to look for another job, whatever it is. Things happen, life happens. So there are times people have had to postpone their study time and postpone that exam. Just to let you know, you have a year to take it. So once you get your application approved, you can actually go in and sign up for the exam. Like you said, you have a year. You don't have to take it right away. But I also don't want you to feel like, oh, I only have 2 weeks left. No, I have to take the exam. So then, spend your final time prepping, focusing on the areas you have trouble with is usually kind of where I go. It also gives you a tip of rest well, test well. Especially in a big exam, I don't get as much rest as I should because I'm anxious about it, So hopefully just calm down and relax if you can. So once your application is approved, review the exam rules and system requirements. Now, if you go to a site, which they don't have that many of them, but you can go to a physical site and take the exam. The nice thing is there's no, distractions, or as many distractions. If you take it online in your own home or at work, make sure that there is a time, because it's 3.5 hours. Make sure that you have the time not to be distracted, because nobody can walk in. You can't be interrupted with a question, because they will cancel that class. You really have to make sure when you're taking it, it's pristine and you're the only one in the room. So review the exam and system requirements if you do it on your own. Or online, I should say, because it's really, really finicky. I mean, I took their last one was, what class exam I was taking? I think CBDA. And you have to be disconnected from everything, just use your laptop. It has to have a camera so the proctor can see you. You can't move your eyes anywhere. You can't mouth anything. They make you take your camera and look all over your desk. And I unplugged my camera because I had to show the top of my desk. There was nothing on it. Underneath my desk, behind my ears, up my shirt, around my office. I kept trying to do that, and then I would plug it back in again and it would kick me out. And I'm like, what the heck? Because I was in a docking station. I had plugged everything in out from the docking station. My monitor was on the floor, everything. There was nothing except my laptop on that docking station. But every time I plugged it into the docking station, it saw it as another system, and you can't have anything else up while you're taking the exam. So it kept kicking me out. It took me an hour to figure that out, going, Susan. So hopefully that will help. Anyway, schedule it. Schedule the date. I usually schedule it for in the mornings because that's when my brain works the best. Afternoons, I've got all kinds of other junk that came through the day. Take the exam, get certified, yay! But again, your application, you have a year. So, and they use PSI. So either one. So you can do it online or you can do it in person. Exam questions. CBAP are case study based. That means you have to read a little case study, 3-4 paragraphs on a case study, a situation, scenario. And then they have multiple choice questions. So read the case study, and then you might have 4, 5, 3, whatever questions around that case study. So, and one question could be from various knowledge areas. One question could be elicitation, another question could be around modeling. I mean, it just kind of depends. There are multiple choice though, A, B, C, D, so that at least if you can, figure out, I know it's not these two. Oh, it might be these two. Which one? Picking one at least is a 50% chance of getting it right. You always have to answer them or you'll have it wrong for sure, and you don't want that. There's 120 questions because it's a case study based, it's 3.5 hours. CBA is just little scenarios, not so long, a couple sentences. And then they still have scenario-based questions like, you are a business analyst, da da da. They have 130 questions in 3 hours just because you don't have to scroll on that case study when you need to look at something. And it's one question per one situation. So here is the blueprint. You can see that these are the knowledge areas that I just went through, the 6 knowledge areas. And this is the percentage of questions. We took that percentage of questions and made it the number of questions for 130, 120. The key thing here, and this has kind of screwed some people up when they've done it themselves, is that if you, because this is from IIBA, this is not from us. It says, oh, we got technique. These are the chapters. The number represents the chapter. So this chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, etc. are the chapters in the book. They have 10 chapters. And so you go look and go, oh, okay, it says NA there. So I don't have to look and read this. I can just study these sections. No, that is incorrect. What they did is they incorporated technique questions, underlying competency questions, and maybe they have a key concept question into the various knowledge areas. There are a ton, let me tell you, a ton of technique questions, but they are buried in this, 42 or 36. And people have come back and been in my classes going, well, I didn't study the techniques because it said NA, and I'm going, yeah, that's kind of a misnomer. They take this information and they embed it into the knowledge areas. So know your techniques inside and out because there are a lot of questions around them. Just saying. On exam day, eat breakfast, lunch, anything that relaxes you. Again, take it online or in person. You don't have to worry so much about this, but if you're doing it online, you really have to find someplace that nobody will disturb you for 3.5 hours. And that's 3.5 hours of staring at a computer. Now you could get done earlier. I got done earlier. So, I mean, it doesn't always necessarily take all the time. Just depends on how fast a test taker you are. But you got to have some play, because if you get interrupted, the exam is done. The proctor notices that the exam is done, they'll just shut it off. So you don't want to go through that. So make sure it's quiet. Thou shalt not walk in the room, have anyone walk in the room. So you got to kind of find a place that, is quiet. You are oftentimes allowed pen and paper. When I took my exam, I had my pencil, so I had to show my pencil that it wasn't a fancy pencil. It was just a, regular kind. And my paper, I had to show the back and forth that it was just a blank piece of printer paper. And then at the end of the session, I had to show it again, and they had to see me rip it up. So you can, if you just want to make notes to yourself and stuff, that's nice, but you do have to show them that. At the end exam, you're going to be, it'll say pass or not pass. I mean, that's the, do I want to see? Do I not want to see? No, I don't want to see. Oh, did I? Oh, yeah. So if you pass, and then if you pass, you'll get notified right away after you take, I believe, a survey, which drives me nuts. Oh, let's take this survey, and then we'll tell you if you passed. Because if you didn't pass, you might give them a bad survey. I don't know. So then you'll receive an email saying, hey, Susan, congratulations, you passed. And then you can go on to IIBA website to learn more about more details. And the details aren't much details, but there's a little more. It'll give you the 6 knowledge areas and tell you whether you were scored higher than most people that took the test, the same, or lower. So it might give you a little bit about where you went, where you did a little bit better or not. And if you didn't pass, don't give up. You can retake the exam 3 times. I'm sorry to say, yes, there is a fee, but you can retake the exam if you need to. And sometimes people need to. Sometimes people are just not good test takers, or they've taken a test and it's been really a long time since they've taken a test. Just take it over. It's worth it. I mean, I know it's a little bit of fee. Sometimes that's a hardship, but it's worth getting your certification. And once you've taken it, you kind of know. I mean, my daughter took the PMP and she had to do the same thing. She didn't pass because she really gets test anxiety. She did that in high school and college too. So she didn't pass the first time, and she said, I'm not gonna, so we helped each other work on that. And next time she passed, because you get a familiarity. It's like, oh, okay, I know how the questions are. The first time it's kind of like, oh, I'm not sure what they're trying to get at. So take it over again if you don't. Most people pass, but don't feel bad if you didn't, because sometimes, so I had students with PSTD that don't do very well. People that are just, really apprehensive on testing, just, calm yourself down, just take it again. Nobody's going to know. Nobody's going to know unless you tell them. When you look at the questions, mark and skip the hard questions. Now, what I do is I answer them and then I'm flag them. Now, some people say, well, just flag it if you don't know the answer. I like to make sure that I guess, because if I don't have time, if I used all my 3.5 hours and I don't have time at the end to look at those flag questions, at least I have a chance of getting it right. And oftentimes my gut feel is correct. And so if I do review those skipped questions, those flagged questions, the only thing I do is I usually don't try and change the answer unless I go, oh, Susan, gosh, how did you weren't reading it correctly, So reading the whole thing and then saying, what are you really asking? Because they'll have garbage in it that you don't care about. What are they really asking at the end of the day? So don't second guess yourself. I've given a lot of exams in other groups that just aren't proctored, but I can do it in paper. And I see people changing their right answers wrong. It's like, oh, don't do that. So don't second guess yourself. At least get it down to 2, 50%. Guess if you have to. It's better than nothing. Don't change your answers. Make sure that you're kind of watching progress. I just did that this morning. It's like, okay, I have this many questions left. Am I about half time? How much do I have? Read the scenario carefully. And then what are they really asking for? And then what I do is I read the scenario, I skim it, I read all the answers, and then I go back to the question saying, what are you really asking? Like I said, sometimes I ask stuff you don't care about. What are they really asking? And then I answer. And the answers sometimes give me an inclination of what they're trying to get me to choose from. In CBAP, you got to read the case study. I usually skim it because I don't want to take that much time. And then I'll read each question. Sometimes there's scenario questions too. I'll read each question, all the answers, make sure I get down to C and D, because I might say, oh, it's B, and then move on, and C and D might have been better answers. So I read them all, and then I go back saying, what was the question? And if I need to, then I go back to the case study and just skim to see if I can find a clue as to the answer. And I'm sorry to say, after you've done all that work, you have to keep it up. Don't let it lapse. You need 60 CDUs. That's for every 3 years. 60 CDU is 1 hour of work. So it could be volunteer work. It can be classroom, maybe take a class in something that has to do with business analysis. You can do some self-study. There's a lot of ways to get, you can create a class for everyone else and get credit for that. So usually, because it's 60 hours, I don't want to wait until like 2 weeks before my expiration date going, oh my God, I need 60 CDUs. What I do is I pace myself 20 for each year so that I don't have all of a sudden it's 2 weeks and going, oh my gosh, I forgot. Now I got to get 60. How do I do that? So I spread it out. A little bit of fun facts, benefits of certification. This actually came from the Global State of Business Analysis Report. IIBA does a State of Business Analysis Report every year. It is from the 2023. They're in the process of doing 2024, so it's like a year. So this is their most recent one, a year behind. So this is reported by business analysts who answered the survey. So most of them said benefits of certification, higher confidence, upskilling, help me find a job, salary increases. So you can see here that the average CBAP earner earns 20% more than non-certified. That's always a plus. Greater fulfillment at work, improved performance reviews, a promotion, which is always nice. Benefits are usually pretty much within the first 6 months. And most people would recommend certification. 95% of the people would say, hey, yeah, it's worth doing. I know it's a lot of work, but it's worth doing. Just if you are curious, how many people are with you? Okay, so we've got all kinds of numbers here, but the CCBA, not as hot, but you can see that it's grown in the last 4 years, July 31st, 2020 to 2024. It's pretty much over doubled, tripled. And CBAPs have doubled in 4 years, which is amazing because it took them a long time to get to 10,000. It's like, wow. And now it's like, oh, and I think it's because the certification is getting more well-known and people appreciate the value of the certification. So now there's over 21,000. And this is July. They didn't have the August numbers out when I did this. So anyway, you can, 5 ways Watermark can help you is register for a 4-day certification class. Check out any of our materials if you want to just study on your own. We have practice exams, free templates. And like I said, I will give Mariella the template to send out with you. And just follow us for upcoming events. And Mariella and her team are excellent at keeping people informed, so on what's happening and what's coming up. So should be ready for that. And just as a bonus, in case you are interested in taking our classes, we have 30% discount because we said, Educate 360, we said this is really important for people to get. So you get with that 30% discount a free year membership. Also membership to your local IIBA chapter. So maybe there's one in your city. We have one in Minneapolis. I know there's usually some chapter in each major city. And then a free access to study resources as the BABOK guide and 30% off your exam and application fee. So to purchase all of this, instead of $634, you can get a discount for $444. And CBAP, instead of $534, you get $374. And so that includes, again, a free membership. Even if you are a member, it's like, Susan, I'm already a member, that's not going to help me. They will extend it. They will take your membership and extend it a year. I mean, you still get that free membership. And you get the free membership to your local chapter and all the other fun stuff. And so if you go into our system, you will notice there's a line item, 30% discount. And it seems like it's more, but really isn't. It's worth it. And then we'll give you voucher for your members, or vouchers for the application fee and the exam vouchers. So you make sure that you don't get charged. and because you already paid for it. And there you go. So just take advantage of that 30% discount. So with that, questions, and I know questions have been coming fast and furious. I wanted to make sure I got through everything. So Ariella, do you want to go through the questions that I did not answer yet?
Absolutely. I believe you answered the first two that came in. Did you answer the cost of the class to
Yeah, I
get
said I
the
didn't know that they had to go to the website because I
Oh,
don't know.
okay.
Unless you have it, I don't.
Got you. Yeah, no, I do not, but we can definitely follow up with some really important links on the website. So do not fret, we can get that info for you. And then did you get this? As it will be difficult to, oh, I'm so sorry. Do we have to write applications like the PMP explaining the details? I got you.
So,
I see.
somewhat. It doesn't take a lot of details, but you will have to explain a little bit about what you did. And I would use the words in the BABOK, the body of knowledge. So, using elicitation instead of gathering, and using some of the terms, instead of workflow process map. I mean, they can usually describe that a little bit differently, but try and use the terms so that they don't think you're doing project management or other stuff, that you actually use the terms in the BABOK, and it usually goes better.
Excellent, excellent. All right, we have a couple more here that just came in. Veronica asked, "Are we penalized if we walk away to use the bathroom? What are the?"
You do get a bathroom break, and you do get a glass of water also, but the water, unlike this one, that's, well, you can't see that actually. There it is. That's, you have to have a clear glass. So you're off, and you have to show it so that you, of course, didn't write any tips on it or anything. So, but you can have a glass of water, and you do take a break, but that is, the time doesn't stop. So if you do have to take a restroom break, which sometimes we just have to, it's 3.5 hours for Pete's sakes, but the clock still ticks.
Of course, that's really good insight, though. Good insight for sure. And then we have a couple more here. Do we get any practice questions included in the price? I'm going to assume for the prep
Yeah, if you take
course.
the certification class, you get the practice questions included in the certification price of the certification prep class that we have.
Excellent. And then any guideline for which content needs to be memorized for the CBAP exam preparations?
It's not really a memorization. For sure, the techniques though. I mean, you have to say what is an act, you have to be able to even describe the technique. So, if I'm describing a data flow diagram, what are the, things in a data flow diagram? What are the storage? I mean, so you need to know those. That's kind of a little bit memorization, but mostly it's an application if you know how to use it. But what I do is sometimes I'll provide mnemonics that people can use to say, okay, these are all the mnemonics of all the tasks in this section, so that I can kind of remember when I look at a scenario, okay, what section are they in? Are we talking about planning? Are we talking about elicitation? Are we talking about managing requirements? It kind of says, it's kind of like when you go into a great big mall and you go, you are here, it's like you are here type thing, or even an airport, where am I? So it helps me kind of figure out where I am.
Excellent. Awesome. And then our last question here was, where do we find free materials, or where can we find study groups? I know you mentioned the chapters have study groups. I think you
Yeah.
mentioned that, right? Yep.
Yeah,
Awesome.
check your local IIBA chapter. And you don't, I mean, there's like the bluegrass chapter, and they have people all over the world joining their study groups. So, and just pick a chapter that looks, has study groups, or sometimes they even put on their own course, study class. So just check them out and join that one if you don't have one next to you, or you want to join something different. You can just go into your application or membership and just pick whatever chapter you want to belong to.
Yeah, that's good insight for sure. Just to kind of search around, see which one's coming out with a new study group soon if you're on the
And a
lookout.
lot
So
of them use our material, so
oh, Awesome. Yeah. And then as far as any other free materials, Christopher, we definitely have some on the Watermark Learning site. So be on the lookout there too to go check if we have any like resources, blogs, whatever you want to
Yes,
look
we do
into.
have
We got them.
a lot of blogs and a lot of articles. I would check those. And like I said, I'll send Mariella the spreadsheet that you can all use to do your application.
Absolutely. Thank you so
And I
much,
think there
Susan.
was one that was talking about, is it difficult to bifurcate the number of hours in 6 knowledge areas as we did for a project or normal analysis? Are we best to subjective guess? Um, as far as dividing your hours by knowledge area, if possible, I would get a copy of the BABOK and just look at least the tasks so you know which grouping each one will be in. It's like, oh, here I was doing planning, so I'm that with that. I wouldn't get too crazy about it. Normally, they're going to give you the benefit of the doubt. So I would just say, honestly, do the best you can.
That's good. That's good advice for sure, especially when there's so much to fill out. So
Yep.
fantastic, fantastic, awesome. Well, I believe we got everything. I saw your question, Priscilla, about the updated online simulation and how it wasn't like up to date. So I can look into that. I'm not too sure if you know, Susan, how up to date the online simulation questions are.
Oh, our online simulation questions, they haven't changed. I mean, so it's still for version, what are we, 3.0 on the box. So they don't intend to change it. So they're the same that we've used since the version 3.0 came out. So they are updated to version 3.0, their latest. So that is up to date.
Awesome. They're up to date. Sweet. Awesome. But yeah, I can definitely can look into that. I noticed you needed a little help with the subscription. So be on the lookout also, for sure, Priscilla. But I believe those are all of our questions, correct? Yep, absolutely. So thank you so much, Dr. Heidorn. This was so much good info for our audience. And if anyone needs any more info on this topic, please do not be afraid to visit us at watermarklearning.com. And if you missed out on any part of this session, like Dr. Heidorn said, we will be sharing a recording with all of you in an email after the webinar with a link to those resources. So thank you all so much for attending, and thank you so much again, Dr. Heidorn.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Absolutely. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much, and we will see you all very soon. Bye, everyone.